once a vibrant and bustling town. But on October 7th, 1993, everything changed. A date etched forever in the minds of the people of Hills Valley. That morning, residents woke up to a silence unlike any they'd ever known. No birdsong, no footsteps, no cars rolling down Main Street, no houses across the road, no barking dog, no school bus. Everything was gone. The entire town of Hills Valley had vanished overnight. And yet, the people remained. Families in their beds, neighbors in their homes, still there. But the world they lived in, erased. This is a story of how a vibrant town woke up to nothing and uncovered something no one was meant to see. At first, many thought it was a power outage, a fog, a trick of the morning light. But as the minutes stretched into hours, panic spread. Mothers shouted for their children. Fathers ran into the empty field where houses used to stand. A group of teenagers screamed for the diner on Maple Street, but found only grass. One man collapsed in tears where the hospital used to be. His wife had been admitted the night before. Now, she was gone. All around, grief struck fast and sharp. But amid the panic, something else grew. Unity. Neighbors, some who had barely spoken before, held one another for comfort. Children cried into strangers' arms, and strangers became family. By noon, hundreds of residents gathered where the town square should have been. Except now, it was only flat land, grass swaying in the wind where their memories once lived. Some argued, some prayed, some stared silently at the horizon. But one man broke the silence. Theo, Hills Valley truck driver, a man known for his strength, his stubbornness, and his grit. Theo climbed onto the bed of his truck and shouted, "If our town is gone, then something must be buried beneath us. Towns don't just disappear." The crowd listened, trembling but desperate for answers. And so, with nothing left to lose, Theo grabbed a shovel and began to dig. Each strike of the shovel echoed across the empty plain. Thud, thud, thud. Children watched with wide eyes. Parents clutched their hands. Neighbors whispered, "What if it's right?" Minutes turned into an hour. Sweat poured down Theo's face, but he kept digging. The crowd grew restless. Hope and fear clashed in their hearts. And then, clang, the shovel struck metal. The sound rang out like a bell, slicing through the silence. Everyone froze. Mothers pulled children closer. Some gasped. Some covered their mouths in shock. Theo dropped to his knees and brushed away the dirt. What he revealed was smooth, cold, unnatural. It wasn't earth. It wasn't stone. It was something buried deliberately. Whispers filled the air. A government experiment. Aliens. God's punishment. But for one mother, theories didn't matter. She knelt in the grass, clutching her child, tears streaming down her face. If we can't find our homes, if we can't find our people, at least let us find the truth. Her words rippled through the crowd. For the first time that day, the fear was matched by something stronger, determination. The people of Hills Valley would not run. They would not scatter. They would face this mystery together. As the sun sank behind the horizon, the strangeness of Hills Valley deepened. The air grew unnaturally still. Shadows stretched longer than they should. Some claimed they saw figures moving in the distance, tall, still silhouettes watching from the far edge of the field. Families built fires, circling together for warmth and courage. Parents told their children stories of Hills Valley before the vanishing, stories of festivals, parades, and laughter, anything to remind them of who they were. Neighbors shared food, water, and blankets. Strangers slept side by side as though they were kin. But all night long, one sound haunted them, the faint echo of metal groaning beneath the earth. By morning, Theo returned to the site of his discovery. Dozens of people followed. Some carried shovels. Others carried only hope. Together, they dug. Slowly, carefully, revealing more of the buried surface. It stretched wider than any building foundation, and along its edge, a seam. Theo traced it with his fingers. It wasn't just metal. It was a lid. The crowd murmured in disbelief. Could an entire town have been sealed away beneath their feet? Theo raised a crowbar. If there are answers here, he said. Then we're going to find them. He wedged the crowbar into the seam. The people of Hills Valley leaned closer, hearts pounding. One pull. Nothing. Two pulls. A creak. Three pulls. Crack. The metal shifted. A rush of stale air burst upward. Children screamed. Mothers pulled them back, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. The surface began to split open, revealing a dark, hollow space below. Gasps erupted. Fear, wonder, and dread collided in their hearts. They hadn't found a foundation. They hadn't found rock. They had found a box, and whatever was inside was never meant to be unearthed. Last time, the people of Hills Valley uncovered something buried beneath the grass where their town once stood. It wasn't stone. It wasn't earth. It was metal. Smooth. Cold. Deliberate. And when Theo, the truck driver, forced it open with a crowbar, a hollow chamber revealed itself below. Inside, they didn't find rubble. They didn't find ruins. They found a box. But this was no ordinary box. What it held would challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves, their families, and their very memories. Cautiously, the townsfolk lowered lanterns into the darkness. A metallic staircase led down into the chamber. Theo volunteered to go first. Mothers cried, begging him not to, but Theo stood tall. If we're going to survive this, someone has to lead the way. One by one, they descended. The chamber smelled of rust, dust, and something older, something ancient. At the center sat a box, small enough to be carried, but heavy with presence. Its sides were engraved with strange markings no one recognized. A silence fell. Everyone stayed, afraid to touch it. Finally, a little girl stepped forward, whispering, "Maybe this is where our town went." Together, 3 men lifted the box and set it on the chamber floor. The lid creaked open, dust spilling into the air. Inside lay photographs, stacks of letters, and a journal. At first, relief washed over the crowd. Proof of their past lives, something real, something familiar. But then, the details emerged. One photograph showed a birthday party. Balloons, candles, smiling faces. The problem? The mother staring at the picture swore it was a daughter's 10th birthday. But her daughter was only 8. Another man pulled out a wedding photo of himself. He was standing at the altar, hand in hand with the bride, but he'd never been married. A widow clutched the photo with shaking hands. It showed her husband, laughing, alive, holding their grandchildren. But her husband had died 3 years before the vanishing, and her grandchildren hadn't even been born yet. She collapsed to the ground, sobbing. Neighbors rushed to comfort her, wrapping their arms around her, whispering words of strength. All around the chamber, tears flowed. The photographs weren't just impossible. They were cruel. Families clung to one another, desperate to hold on to the truth of their lives. Children asked their parents, "Did this really happen? Were we there?" And parents had no answers. The letters were no better. One note described a town festival that no one remembered. Another was addressed to a family that no longer existed. And in the journal, strange entries appeared. They weren't written in a single hand, but many, different inks, different dates. Some pages described ordinary life in Hills Valley, but others described things no one could explain. The town reset again today. Cycle 5 complete. Cycle 6 begins. The handwriting matched one of the town's school teachers, but she swore she had never written it. Terror spread like fire. Were their memories stolen? Rewritten? Were their lives experiments? But once again, the people of Hills Valley leaned on one another. Mothers gathered children into circles, singing old lullabies to soothe them. Fathers promised their families they would protect them, no matter what truth they uncovered. Elderly residents prayed aloud, their voices shaking but steady, giving hope to those too scared to speak. One young boy whispered into the firelight that night, "Even if we don't remember yesterday, we have today, and we have each other." It was simple, but it became the words the town carried in their hearts. The box should have been the end of their nightmare, proof that Hills Valley still existed, even if in fragments. But then, another sound echoed in the chamber. Not from the box, not from the townspeople. A metallic knock. 3 sharp raps, as though someone was knocking back from below. Gasps filled the room. Children screamed. Theo raised his lantern toward the dark floor of the chamber. And there, faintly etched into the metal beneath their feet, they saw words. Do not open the second box. The people of Hills Valley froze in terror, because if this was the first box, what lay buried deeper still? Imagine holding a picture of your wedding day, smiling, happy, surrounded by friends. Now imagine this. You've never been married. This is what the people of Hills Valley faced the night they opened the metallic box. Photographs that should have brought comfort instead tore their reality apart, because what they saw in those images were lives they had never lived. The lantern light flickered across the chamber walls as the townsfolk passed photographs hand to hand. Each face paled. Each heart pounded harder. A birthday party, balloons floating in the air, a little girl smiling as she blew out 10 candles. But the mother clutching the photo whispered, "She's only 8. This hasn't happened yet." Another man, hands trembling, studied an image of himself standing beside a woman in a white dress. He wore a ring. His hair was neatly combed. A wedding day. His wedding day. But he had never walked down the aisle. The more they looked, the worse it became. Entire families who didn't exist. Streets filled with people they had never seen. And yet, every photo carried a familiarity. Faces felt known, expressions felt real. It was as if these were not strangers, but versions of themselves pulled from a life that had never happened. An elderly widow gasped as she pulled a photo from a pile. Her knees buckled. It showed her late husband, alive, laughing, holding grandchildren who had never been born. Sobbing, she pressed the picture to her chest. Neighbors rushed to her side, wrapping arms around her. Some cried with her, others prayed aloud. One whispered, "Maybe this is a life we were supposed to have." Around the chamber, the emotional toll spread like wildfire. Children clutched parents, asking, "Was I there too? Do I have a brother? A sister?" And parents, broken by the weight of the unknown, had no answers, only trembling hands, wiping tears from frightened faces. But even in the chaos, something beautiful emerged. Families began leaning on one another. Strangers held hands. A chorus of whispered reassurances filled the room. Fear united them. Then someone found the journal. Its spine cracked, its pages yellowed. The entries were unsettling, written in multiple hands. Different inks, different dates. Some pages described Hills Valley as they remembered it, festivals, Sunday sermons, winter storms. But others described things no one dared believe. The town reset again today. Cycle 5 complete. Cycle 6 begins. Memories transferred successfully. The most chilling part? One page bore the signature of their school teacher. She swore she had never seen the journal before. The room erupted in debate. Was this government testing? Aliens? A punishment from God? But one photograph silenced them all. It showed the entire town gathered in the square, celebrating a festival. Children danced. Fireworks lit the sky. But above them, strange glowing light shimmered. Not stars. Not planes. Something watching. No one remembered this night. And yet, every face in the photo was undeniably theirs. The photo ignited despair. A father clutched his son close, swearing he would protect him no matter what was happening. A mother sang softly to her little ones, her voice breaking but steady. Elders prayed in whispers, hands locked tight. And in the middle of it all, children clung to the comfort of togetherness, believing that as long as their families stayed united, nothing could erase them again. One boy, barely 9 years old, said aloud what everyone else was afraid to admit. "If they can take our town once, they can do it again." The words chilled the chamber. But then, he added, "But if they do, they'll have to take us all, because we won't let go of each other." In that moment, the fear bent into something new. Determination, resilience, hope, but hope alone wouldn't save them. As the lantern flames dimmed, Theo tapped his foot against the chamber floor. A hollow echo. He knelt, brushing aside the dirt. Beneath the layer of soil, his fingers found the edge of a wooden trapdoor. The townsfolk crowded around, hearts racing. Someone shouted, "Don't open it." Others urged him on. Together, they pried it loose. The hinges groaned. Dust spiraled upward. A staircase led deeper underground. The air rising from below was colder, unnatural. Carved into the trapdoor were faint, jagged words. "The second box is not for you." Gasps filled the chamber. Mothers pulled children back. But Theo gripped his lantern tighter, voice trembling but firm. "If there's a second box down there, then that's where the truth is, and we're going to find it." The people of Hills Valley stood frozen at the edge of the black stairwell, fear clashing with desperation, because the first box had already broken them, and the second promised something far, far worse.